young boy was gifted Chinese handcuffs. His aunt just came up to him and handed them to him and walked away with no explanation or description, anything. She just gave them to him and she walked away. And he looked at it. He didn't know what this strange looking thing was. And he looked at it and he looked at it. And sure enough, as he held it, he eventually stuck his finger in one end, looked at it and stuck his finger in the other end, and then decided he didn't like that anymore. He didn't want it, and so he pulled his fingers apart, and of course it tightened down on his fingers. And he thought, oh my, and he had fear. He was trapped. But then he stopped and he thought about it. And so he just got quiet, and he noted that the handcuffs weren't holding his fingers quite as tight. And so he slowly moved his fingers closer and closer together. And with that, the handcuffs slowly gave up the grip on his fingers, and he was eventually able to extract one finger at a time. But he went through that period of fear, preceded by, or succeeded by, that time of science and quiet. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome to those of you who are online, either on Facebook Live or recorded or on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. It is indeed an honor. Our annual theme this year is LOL, Living Out Loud. And our monthly theme for February this year is not love like it's been the last 8 Februaries that I've been. It is curiosity. The title of my talk today is Beneath the Surface. 3 major points. 1, curiosity gives us a chance. Number 2, curiosity is at work during times of surrender. And thirdly, curiosity is your superpower. First of all, curiosity gives us a chance to see the magnificence of who we are and the world in which we live. The feeling of curiosity has always been a mystery to us. For some, it brings forth a feeling of excitement. But for most of us, the unknown is approached with fear. We have had our fingers stuck in the Chinese handcuffs of life, and we are a little bit afraid of whenever we have that feeling of curiosity. So today we're going to dive through the fear to reveal the wonderment of the unknown and reveal the gifts that curiosity can bring. First of all, curiosity is one of the basic calls of life. It pulls us to learn about the world around us. Even as a baby tastes its fingers and toes, or a seafaring discoverer sets sail for lands unknown, the superpower of curiosity is stimulating the desire to know more, asking what or why, instead of just accepting just because. It becomes the tip of the iceberg. And I think that really applies to Alaska, where there's always a question of what's around the next bend in the river? Or what's over that next hill? What is the next thing? There's an inborn curiosity to all of us. Second, when our desire to know more becomes stronger than our fear of the unknown, we are compelled to find a way. We can lean into our conviction that the universe is for us, lean into our faith, and to allow our fear to be transformed into excitement. Brene Brown, from The Gifts of Imperfection. I think we did a book study on that. Faith is a place of mystery where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of uncertainty. Thirdly, as we grow and expand our knowledge of our world, we grow in our personal power. In this place of security, we are free to dive deeper, discover new things, and have ideas build upon ideas as we uncover the beauty of the world. We recognize God in everything, and fear is laid down. Ernest Holmes wrote, "These thoughts, ideas, feelings, hopes, expectations, doubts, fears, and faiths make up that thing within us which is attracting or repelling certain experiences." It is those thoughts and feelings, ideas that attract to us and also repel from us. So if we want to experience something different, we can do so by having different thoughts and feelings. Story just came to me. It's in part of the sermon, but it just hit me, and it's really, really relevant. Many years ago, before snow machines got as big and powerful and good as they are today, a group of us were on a trip, and we were going up out of Petersville, and we're going toward Denali, and we're climbing successively higher and higher and higher. We'd come to a ridge, and then it'd kind of level off for a little bit, then continue on and go up another little bit. I was kind of at the end of the trail. The guys in front of me that were breaking trail were a lot better riders, and boy, we were getting high, man. I mean, we were going, and pulled up to one little saddle, and all the riders in front of me had stopped, and I looked down, and there in front of us was the biggest drop-off. Had that first guy not been a smoker and stopped for a cigarette, we would have all gone one after the other like lemmings off a 2,000-foot cliff. Curiosity can kill a cat. But it can also open up the most incredible vistas. I mean, when we turned around, you could see all the way down the inlet, past Mount Spur, past Redoubt. You could see all the way down the inlet. On the other side, the Talkeetna Mountains, Mount Baldy looked like a little bump. You could see the huge Talkeetnas towering above you. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, point number 2. Curiosity is at work in times of surrender. All too often we can get caught up in the doingness of life. We've got to get that done. We need to do this. We need to do that. And when we think of being curious, it brings up feelings of one more thing to do, one more book to read, one more class I ought to take, one more of this, one more of that. We can get our curiosity ignited by doing, but it can also be satisfied by being, by simply being. When we surrender and allow the quiet to descend around us, our curious minds travel to the place of infinite potentiality, and it is there that some of our greatest inspirations are discovered. Just like our boy with the handcuffs. When he got still and he let go, he realized that he could extract himself from it. Ann and I have been working on some deferred maintenance projects at our house. We've been fixing up some things that are decades overdue. One of which is the lighting in my garage. I don't know why I call it my garage. I don't have a single thing in there. But lighting in the garage. And it's been a joy. And I decided I'm going to join the world of LEDs. And so I'm changing out lights. And the particular brand that I got The installation is really, really simple. They're really light. You just put in 2 screws. They're 47 inches apart. You pop it up. There is a keyhole on each one of them. Boom, you hit the 2, slide it over, and it's in. And I put my screws 47 inches apart, and I got up and click, that one went in good, and this end would not go in. And I finally calmed down, and I picked it up, click, this end went in, and this end wouldn't go. And so I remeasured. I mean, it's 47 inches. It's 47 inches. Why won't these go in? And it was like 40 minutes later, I was still trying to get those 2 both in, and my patience was wearing thin. And I should have had the sacred reading, because there was no peace around me. And I was using language that would make a sailor blush. It was not a happy being. And I thought, Don, you, number one, are doing exactly what you tell people not to do. And number 2, you're not doing the thing that you advise them to do. And so I just sat there in that moment, and I just set an intention. And I admitted, this has got me, and I need some help here. So, God, I need some help. And I crawled back up that ladder, and I put it up, and snick, this end went in, snick, that end went in, poop, and there it was. It couldn't have been 15 seconds after I'd been working on that thing for close to an hour. And boom, it was done. There is a power in the universe, and it is for us, and it can help us. Okay, point number 3. Curiosity is your superpower. This is where the theme of the title of today comes from. And it's a story about 2 young women that went to Hawaii. They were best of friends. They shared the deepest moments in life with one another. And I simply stated they were the absolute best of friends. And they were able to work out this trip where they could go to Hawaii together. And they had events planned, and they had time planned for stillness. They had it all. They were so excited. And on the day came, they went to Hawaii, and it was beautiful. The weather was awesome. Everything was great. And one day they were scheduled to go snorkeling. Well, one of the ladies, Susan, was from the coastal area. She was familiar with the ocean. She snorkeled many times. She grew up around swimming. She was comfortable in the water. It was wonderful for her. And the place where they were going was famous for its fish. And the viewing, world famous, and she was ecstatic to be there. The other girl, her great friend Anne, was from the upper Midwest. And while she knew how to swim and she knew things, she was not nearly as comfortable around the water as her friend Anne. Well, they arrived at the place. The beach was great. Anne put on all of her stuff, her snorkel gear right away, and dove right in and started swimming. And Anne, her friend, was a little more hesitant, and she walked out and she got into water just a little below her knees, and she started trembling, and she didn't know what she was supposed to do next. And Susan happened to turn around and look back and saw her friend. And so she came back for her. And she came up and she talked to her. She put her mind at ease. She took her by the hand, and they waded out until they were waist deep. And there she showed her how to get her mask on. And she said, okay, now put your head down into the water and just hold your breath and look around. Sat up, okay, let's do it again. And she did it again. She says, okay, now, and she showed her how to get her mouthpiece on and the snorkel tube, and she showed her that, okay, now put it down and breathe. And she did, and she did. And wouldn't you know, just about them, a beautiful bright yellow fish swam by, and Anne started to look at it, and she turned and she started following a little bit, and the next thing you knew, she was dog paddling along in this beautiful bay, following this magnificently beautiful fish. And she discovered there were schools of fish, and she saw things of danger. She saw the sharp lava rocks, and she saw coral, and she saw the whole ecosystem was just beauty and beyond imagination. And that is kind of an analogy, if you will, of our experience. We can get to that place, and because of conditioning when we were kids and being stuck in the Chinese handcuffs of life, we are afraid. But with a little bit of help, and when we can get into the quiet, we can then have the courage to step into our curiosity and to then experience that beauty that is life, experience the magnificence of what life is. Curiosity grows our awareness. It sparks our imagination. It expands our consciousness. It builds our mental equivalence. The last few weeks I talked about mental equivalence, and this helps us create an accurate mental equivalent, not necessarily for the exact thing of our desires, but for the feeling tone of our desires. It opens us up to receive more of God's good. Curiosity as a superpower can transform your life. Delving into the unknown and seeking to understand more about the world and more about yourself leads to amazing discoveries. What will we do with these new ideas? How will we choose to live our lives? How will we grow and express all of God's good as us? What we know for sure is that even as we answer these questions, our curiosity is presenting us with even more to contemplate. And I'll close with this quote from Ernest Holmes. It's an essay he wrote. It's called "It's Up to You." The first step in overcoming any fear is to concede that God is for us. This done, we have at once overcome the fear by seeing that there is nothing to be afraid of. The world is all right, and we can meet it on its own terms. So, conclusion, what I want you to take away from today: recognize and know yourself as an expression of the divine and live life to its fullest. Do not hold back in fear. Dive in with curiosity and allow the joy of God to be expressed as you. There's only one of you. This one magnificent shining light. Do not hide it under a bushel. Do not dampen it by thoughts of not being enough. Shine brightly, shine brilliantly as you live your life out loud. And so it is with this awareness of that divine presence that is in each and every one of us, I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in prayer, to join me in knowing that each and every one of us have been given this magnificent power of curiosity. And it is this curiosity which allows us to look at the world around us with fresh eyes. And it allows us to look at the inner world, our inner selves, with new, fresh eyes, recognizing that as a product of that infinite divine presence, we are perfect for exactly what we are here to do. We are perfect to express that infinite presence. And so as we go through this thing called life, and we go through all of the challenges and the things, the effects that are from life, we recognize that we can step back. We can step into the calmness. We can step into the quietness. And we can allow the Chinese handcuffs of life to release its grasp on our fingers. It allows us to dive into that surf, allows us to dive into the pool to see the magnificence of life before us. It allows us to see the magnificence and the beauty of our own lives. It allows us to be that of which we are capable. We know that we are greater than all of the effects. We are greater than disease. We are greater than lack and limitation. We are greater than a feeling of separation, because we know that we can never be separate. We can never be separate from one another. We can never be separate from that infinite creative force. And so we just give thanks for this awareness. We give thanks for the good that is our lives. And so it is with joy we step forth into the coming weeks and months. We give thanks, we let it go, we let it be, and so it is.